Welcome to the second episode and season finale of Princess Diana, The Truth, the show that aims to investigate various conspiracy theories regarding the death of the people's princess, Princess of Wales, Princess Diana, back in, the old times, back before, internet and that sort of stuff. So we're going to be investigating what happened to her, and I'm going to be trying to solve the case live on radio. That is what we're going to be doing. That is what we are going to be doing. We are going to be looking at every single fact about what happened to the people's princess, and we will be discovering the truth. I assure you, this is not something that is going to be missed. If the FBI, or, they're American, so probably not them, but if, the MI2, if they want to shut it down, then they can cut us off, but we will be revealing the truth live on the radio, and hopefully I won't be shot or something. I don't really know. Now the first bit of evidence we're going to be rebuffing is the evidence that Diana's driver, the man who drove Diana, Paul, his name was, if he was drunk or not. And I've got a lot to say about this. Got a lot to say about this indeed. Now, as we all know, the police have a habit of setting people up for drunk driving. They can sometimes say that someone was drunk when they weren't, and it's a conspiracy theory, because these breathalyzers they have, they're not actually, accurate. Basically, if you blow into a breathalyzer, it comes up that you're drunk, whether you are or not. I know from personal experience. And basically, if you blow into these breathalyzers, then it says you're drunk no matter what. And secondly, they didn't breathalyze the bloke because he was dead, so you can kind of debunk the first thing I said. But how do we know that the blood tests they did on the dead driver were not faked as well? And that's what I think we're looking at here. We're looking at potentially faked blood tests. There's apparently CCTV of the guy stumbling out of the place after drinking a lot of alcohol, and people apparently saw him drinking a lot of alcohol. But he could have been you've got Copperberg, right? They do alcohol-free Copperberg that isn't actually alcohol-free, but it says alcohol-free on it, and it has a very small percentage of alcohol in it, to the point where you don't actually get drunk. He could have been drinking non-alcoholic Copperberg, and that could have been, what people saw him drinking. They were like, oh, he's drinking a Copperberg, but turns out he's not actually drinking a Copperberg. Turns out he's drinking a non-alcoholic Copperberg, like what nuns and stuff drink, and it could be like that. So that's my theory on the witnesses. And he could have been injecting what has alcohol in it. What, mouthwash, that has alcohol in it, doesn't it? He could have just drank a lot of mouthwash. That could have been what was in his bloodstream. So the next bit we're going to be rebuffing is rebuffing the word, or is that what you do on a car when you want it to be more shiny? Don't know. Anyway, the next bit we're going to be rebuffing is the rumour that Diana might be pregnant with a baby. And this is suggested that the reason she was killed was because she was pregnant with a little baby Diana. And so they suggested that her boyfriend, Mohammed Al-Fayed, was the baby daddy, basically. And so MI6, they come and kill Diana. They come and kill her on the grounds that Prince Philip asked them to. So they come and kill her because she got a baby, and Prince Philip, we all know he's a bit racist, so he probably didn't like the idea of a mixed race baby joining the royal. I mean, we doubt he likes Meghan Markle, to be honest. So Prince Philip's a bit racist, right? That's what we know. I mean, that's a rumour that's been going around for years. That's not something I made up in my head. Prince Philip probably doesn't like the idea of a mixed race baby becoming part of the extended royal family. Prince Philip, probably doesn't like the idea of his son's wife, going off with someone from a different country. She was apparently going to be proposed to. Like, there was a CCTV of Mohammed Al-Fayed going to jewelers to get a ring to propose to her. So this is interesting, except for the fact he could have just been buying a ring. It could have been his mum's birthday, could have been his sister's birthday, could have been his nan's birthday for all we know. He could have been buying that ring for any reason. Any reason at all. He didn't have to be buying it for Diana. So I think that rebunks that CCTV. And the second thing is that they suggested that she'd only actually met him 7 weeks before he was apparently going to propose and get her up the duff. So if you'd only met her 7 weeks before, it's very unlikely that you're going to propose to Princess Diana having only met her 7 weeks before. If you think about it, how many dates could you go on? If you're going on one date a day, that's fair, that's quite a lot of dates. But if you're going on like a date a week, that's seven dates. That's not much at all. That's not much at all to get to the level of proposition, to wanting to prop the question whether you're going to be my wife or something. That's quite a lot to do in 7 weeks. And unless you're Craig David, who met a girl on Monday, took her for a drink on Tuesday, they were making love by Wednesday and on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Unless you work as quick as Craig David, then I don't think you're going to be proposing in 7 weeks. I just don't think it's possible. If we ignore all the evidence that he was going to propose to her, the fact he could have got her pregnant, that could still be a possibility, because if you think about it, you can get pregnant really easily. Like, if you don't wear a condom, you're going to get pregnant. But again, if Diana was pregnant, why would she tell people? That's all I'm thinking. It's logic, innit? I'm using my head here to think logic. The next point we're going to be looking at is the fact that there was no CCTV. There was an absence of CCTV. I'm going to put this down to two things, right? They say that the CCTV weren't being maintained by the Council of Paris, and that is actually a believable excuse, because as we all know, town councils and city councils are awful. You want that pothole fixed, they're not going to go and fix it. You want that chav who's hanging around the post box outside your house smoking a questionable substance removed and sent to a prison. They ain't gonna do that either, because they've not given the police any money, so the police have all quit and become accountants instead. That's the sort of thing that councils do, innit? So the fact that the Council of France probably didn't go and maintain a couple of CCTV cameras in a dark tunnel, that I think that's completely believable, to be completely honest with you. I forgot whether I'm meant to be proving she was killed or not. I don't really remember what my argument was here. Like with most of the essays I did for the entire 3 years of my degree. But anyway, so I think that they could, councils are awful. They could just not have bothered to maintain CCTV, and that just adds into that idea. I also have another theory. And that's hackers. Well, I've been watching, all these programs about like the dark web and the deep web. And no one really likes it when it goes too deep. And if you've been watching these programs, there are hackers out. My mum actually, she once defeated a hacker. Someone hacked my Facebook and they posted a status, and she commented, "Bog off, hackers," and they responded, "Sorry, lady, we'll stop now," and then they left. So my mum once defeated hackers, so that proves that they are out there and they are in fact causing mischief, and they could have hacked the CCTV to not show any images of Diana being killed. But if we've got no CCTV, we don't know how she was killed. She could have been swallowed by a vortex. She could have been stomped on by a King Kong. She could have just crashed a car. She could have been, she could have been Beatles did. I don't mean the band. I mean like load of Beatles could have come and eaten her. If there's no CCTV, we just don't know. Like, unless you see something with your own eyes, you just don't know if it's the truth, do you? So next we're looking at the white Fiat Uno, which is the car that was apparently driving at Diana's car, and then caused Diana's car to swerve off the road and go into a tunnel, and apparently a car drove at them. So the white Fiat Uno was the car that allegedly drove at them. Now I have a theory that the white Fiat Uno just might not exist. You know, who knows it existed? I mean, apart from the CCTV that saw it coming out the tunnel. But if there's no CCTV in the tunnel, as they allegedly said, if there's no CCTV, how do they know that a car was swerving to avoid a white Fiat Uno? If there's no CCTV, they're contradicting themselves here for a start. There probably is evidence of how they know. Oh yeah, because apparently there was traces of white paint on the car, which basically suggests that the white Fiat Uno did hit Diana's car. So that debunks what I originally said. But if we think about it, they spent years trying to find this car, and then they thought it belonged to a bloke who then died in mysterious circumstances. So maybe he was killed by MI6 or something for being the driver of the car. Don't really know what to think of this, to be completely honest with you. I mean, you know, you get some knobhead drivers driving all the time, really. You know, he might have just been cruising about in his white Fiat Uno. Oops, I killed a princess. I mean, that's all I got on this one, to be honest with you. It's quite compelling evidence. But now we're going to be looking at the next piece of evidence, and that's the fact there was a bright flash. And normally you only get a flash if you're walking down an alleyway and a man in a waistcoat walks past you. But no, apparently in this dark tunnel, Diana got flashed as well. But no, apparently this was a flash of light, not a flash of Willie. And that's what caused the car to swerve and crash into the side of the tunnel, which again slightly contradicts the fact, because if a white Fiat Uno was what caused the car to swerve and hit another side of the tunnel, then surely a flash of light would have to be very, very well timed for it to be a flash of light and also a white Fiat Uno. But the reason why they think this is a thing is because MI6 applied to assassinate some foreign people, as they do, you know, classic MI6, and so they planned on doing that with a bright flash, not a flash by a man in a waistcoat in an alleyway, but a flash of light. So they planned on doing that. The thing, I feel like what we need to think about here is Brexit, because if Brexit had happened earlier, right? If Brexit had happened earlier, then none of this, Diana might not be dead. Because think about this, right? All you people that voted leave, you were actually doing it because of what happened to Diana. Because if you think about it, right? If we'd got Brexit right, Diana would have struggled to go to France. She might have got like stuck in passport control and deported or something like that. And so if you think about it, Brexit had happened 40 years earlier, or whenever she died, I don't know, I'm not an expert on this matter. If Brexit had happened back then she might not have gone to France. She might have gone to Devon or somewhere British instead, and she might still be alive. And I think that is the truth to take from this, more than anything, more than the fact there was a bright flash. To be honest, could have just been some lightning. So you see, or thunder. Thunder's the one that flashes, isn't it? Could have just been some lightning / thunder. That would have made the most sense. I reckon that's what happened. It was just a bit of thunder. So we're getting into our smaller bits of evidence now. So the next bit we're looking at is a seatbelt. And you know, you should always wear your seatbelt, because if you crash and you're not wearing your seatbelt, you're gonna die. And they said that Diana wasn't wearing her seatbelt, even though allegedly she always wore her seatbelt. And I got a theory about this, right? Because I always wear my seatbelt. But you know, when you're in a taxi home after a night out and you got a kebab, and you got your chips or whatever, and you're enjoying that, you if it's one of those weird I mean, I know it's not a taxi, I know it's like a private car because she's a princess or whatever, and princesses wouldn't get Uber, and also Uber didn't exist back then. But you know, I reckon, you know, if she's been on a night out with Mohammed Al Fayed, and they've been on the Raz, they've been doing a couple of bottles of WKD in the street or whatever they've been up to. I reckon if she's travelling back at like 2-3 a.m, you know, she's not gonna be focused. She's not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna put my seatbelt on whilst I have my kebab and chips. So it could be an honest mistake. And you know, those weird taxis where you have to face the opposite direction and they're like strange plastic pulled out like them. They're really difficult to suss out. Like my nan, she's probably about Diana's age. I don't know how old Diana is, but she'd be old if she was still alive. you know, my nan, she never wears a seatbelt in the car. She always holds it because she can't figure out how to get the seatbelt into the clicky thing. She can't get it in the hole, so to speak. You know, just like most old people, to be fair. Anyway, we're on to our final bits of evidence now. The next bit is the transport to the hospital. So, like, what they're saying, right, is that it took longer to get to the hospital than it should have done for the ambulance that was carrying Diana. They say it might have taken a detour, it might have gone a longer route in order to delay getting to hospital as much as possible, in order to let Diana die. And I've got a couple of theories about this again. So right, the NHS, that's ridiculously underfunded. So if you're not giving money to your NHS, right, I know we're in France or whatever and it's the 80s, but if you're not giving money to your NHS, then they ain't gonna have, you know, money to train ambulance drivers. So they probably just picked up a taxi driver or something off the street and got him to drive the ambulance. That could happen. Or like, yeah, so like if you're underfunding your National Health Service, then that's, you know, it's going to take longer for ambulances to get to hospital and princesses are going to die. Also, could have just been traffic. I know they said it was, you know, middle of the night in France, but I've been to France in the middle of the night. There's still a lot of traffic in my opinion. And again, this is the 80s. We didn't know what global warming was then as well. Some more people drove. There were less people on bikes. And with that, I can say this: we have solved what happened to Princess